Welcome everyone to the Phoenix Report. I am Jack Connor, and with me is John Walters, and we are here to review Justice League. It's surreal to say that after all this time that we're actually have a Justice League movie out. It's something I know you feel the same way, John. Where it's like we've wanted a Justice League movie for so long, and to see it happen ever since I was a little kid. And the fact that it's happening now, it's just, man, what a great time to be alive.
It's pretty awesome, man. I mean, like you said, we've waited a long time, and it's still kind of surreal that we got to see, the big guns. Like, it's great. We get to see all these guys on the big screen, especially the Trinity, like Batman. Well, I guess I don't want to go into spoilers. I guess everybody knows Superman's going to be in it, but Batman, Superman, Wonder Woman.
I don't know about you, but I was always a DC guy growing up. I was certainly aware of the Marvel stuff, and I always liked it, but like DC was really where it was at for me in terms of Batman, Superman, and everyone else. And and it's been a tough road getting here, honestly, because. I remember when Man of Steel first came out, you and I both loved it. We're completely over the moon. And then when we found out that what we had hoped that they were, going to do a DC, connected universe, that, we were really excited about that. I know that Batman versus Superman ended up being a letdown for both of us. We both.
Well, I actually enjoyed it.
Yeah. No, I mean, at the time when it first came out.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, there was this. I mean, you're right. I mean, it wasn't a perfect movie, and there was definitely a lot more flaws to that for sure. And you can kind of pick it apart a little bit more. I mean, overall, I still enjoyed it, but you're right. I mean, it could have been better for us. For everybody.
Yeah, and I mean, since then, I've been able to look back in it and appreciate it for the good parts of it.
Well, especially the director's cut.
Yeah, especially the expanded cut definitely helped flesh out the story a little bit.
Yeah.
Didn't 100% fix it for me, but
sure. Yeah.
I definitely appreciate a large majority of it. Obviously there were a few choices throughout that movie. Some of the pieces of dialogue I thought could have been better. But overall, it was what it was. I thought I thought Suicide Squad was a really great step in the right direction.
I mean, I have to tell you, I don't really get the huge criticism. I mean, again, every movie's subjective, so it's fair for everybody. But I mean, I really enjoyed Suicide Squad. Like, I thought, I mean, it's kind of weird. It's like it seems like I'm batting for DC, but it's really I'm batting for like. Movies, especially comic book movies. I like comic book movies, and like if I enjoy it, like I'm gonna tell I enjoyed it.
Yeah, I think when it comes to these characters, the expectations are through the roof with a lot of people, and the scrutiny is there. Yeah. I mean, let's not forget that as much as people love the Avengers, nobody cared about Iron Man or Captain America before 2008.
Yep,
that's true. Most people, except for comic book fans, didn't really know anything about Tony Stark or Steve Rogers or Hawkeye or Thor or any of those guys.
And even comic book fans, those guys were still like B-rated characters.
Yeah.
Like even for comic book fans, nobody was going around like, man, I couldn't wait for the next Iron Man, series and the next Iron Man cartoons.
Or Thor, you didn't really, or any of that.
Or Thor, yeah, you weren't really saying that. Like, yeah, you enjoyed it when you had your hands on it, or if you saw a clip of something, but B-rated. So yeah, you're right. I mean, before any of this, nobody really cared about those kind of characters.
So I think keeping that in mind, you do have. You do have the expectations going through the roof. And not only that, because it's the internet age, everyone's trying to find out everything about these movies. Suicide Squad definitely had some issues as far as what was filmed versus what made the final cut, and I think that ruined it for a lot of people. I was talking to Seamus about this yesterday, and he had admitted that a lot of his issues with it was more of a technical on the technical side of things, just
Hmm.
because there wasn't enough Joker stuff, and that he went in there knowing that there was more footage than what we saw.
Yeah.
Although, I mean, that being said, I think I kind of, reminded him. I was like, you know what? Honestly, like, I enjoyed what we got,
Yeah.
and I enjoyed the extended version of that movie too.
Yeah.
So, I mean,
Well,
for
I don't think there's an extended version of that. Is
the
there?
Suicide Squad, yeah, there
Yeah.
is.
Is there?
Yeah, yeah, it comes with the Blu-ray and digital combo pack. But
I don't know
yeah,
if
no,
I've seen it then.
yeah, no, I own it. It's great.
Okay.
But like, I was happy with what we got with Suicide Squad. I thought it was a really cool concept.
Hmm.
Um, it's tough to follow up because everyone's going to compare Jared Leto's Joker to Heath Ledger,
Right.
and those were two different kinds of movies, and
Yeah.
that's why I don't think it's necessarily fair because there was two different movies, two different Jokers, and it was what it was. But and then you had Wonder Woman, which was just a home run hit, which I'd imagine it would be.
Yeah. I mean, majority of people just loved it, and I mean, I loved it. I mean, they did a great job with it, and I'm glad. I'm really glad that they did that right.
So, I mean, I was definitely cautious going into this, but I was still optimistic, and the buzz on it was pretty good, and overall, I was very satisfied with this movie.
Yeah, I mean, but I don't know how. I say the buzz fan wise for people who are like were actually seeing it. I'd say that was a good buzz, but the critics, like, I feel like there's a huge gap between the Rotten Tomato critics and fan reviews. There's like a big gap.
Yeah,
I
I mean,
don't know.
I think as we record this right now, I think it was at like 48% on Rotten Tomatoes, which was just really low, like much
Yeah.
lower than I thought, and I just don't get it. I mean,
And yet, unfortunately, those Rotten Tomato numbers, it does affect the box office because people will a lot of people look at that and it's like, oh, well, it's not that great. Reviews, I don't think I'm going to waste my time watching characters I haven't really followed and if it's got bad reviews or okay reviews, rather not do that. Maybe I'll wait for other people to see it.
I mean, it's a shame. And look, considering all the baggage that this movie had, considering the situation they were in, where they didn't have a bunch of different movies about these other characters leading into it, which, I mean, look, I could complain about DC not taking the approach that Marvel did, but it's kind of a moot point right
Yeah.
now. It's just, look, this is what they're doing, so this is where we're at. Let's
Yeah.
make the best out of the situation, which I thought they did.
Yeah. I don't get like, I think it's nice to have two different things, It's like, okay, you have your Marvel way and you can appreciate the way they've done it and they've done a great job of it. And then you have the DC way where it's like, you don't have to have it exactly the Marvel way where you have to have all these individual character films. You can have like maybe one or two individual films and then have a big one where to introduce the rest of the world so that way it gets you more interested to see these other individual films. I mean, that's a kind of it's like a nice change up, so that way it's not always the same formula for every movie studio.
Right, and I thought Wonder Woman kind of proved that in a way because they went back, they told her backstory, you
Yep,
know,
yep, that's right.
even though they introduced her in Dawn of Justice, they just basically made it an origin story, sort of a prequel almost.
Yeah.
Although it's its own thing, but
Well,
you know what I mean.
see, that's like kind of proves the point of like the whole, you can introduce characters so that way like you can want more of them later, you know? You don't have to, you don't have to like know everything about these characters the first time you see them,
Yeah.
Like,
No,
so,
I
yeah.
would agree. So, I mean, I'd be curious to hear some of the reactions of people who aren't necessarily familiar with Aquaman or the Flash, and to see if see how that impacts their experience. I was going to try and get my buddy Greg, who's the lead guitarist in my band. I was hoping to get him on here because he saw it this weekend, and he's not necessarily a comic book guy, but he enjoys the movies.
Okay.
So
did you get his overall opinion or?
yeah, I mean, I remember talking to him, and he was thinking. It's like, yeah, it's cool. It's like I it took me a second to kind of figure out what Aquaman was all about, but
Okay.
And not knowing about Atlantis and all that stuff, but
Right.
that was really cool to see. But yeah, I mean, it's I thought overall this movie was a good sort of course correction for some of the issues that I personally had with Batman versus Superman and some of the choices there. I thought they kind of turned it around and really made the best out of the situation they were in, and really turned in a good movie where I feel like they're starting to fulfill their potential.
This movie, what I really, really, really appreciated in this movie was the fact that they heavily emphasized the relationship between all the characters, and they solely focus on the members of the league. Okay, maybe the bad guy was a little, they sacrificed a little bit, well, a little more than a little bit with the bad guy, just so what they wanted to focus in on with the members was going to be excellent, and it was excellent. It was you got backstory with each one. You're following each one, what's going on with them, and then even as they get together, it's not like everything is hunky dory. It shows there is conflict. There's conflict of interest and morality and how to do things, who's going to lead, and all that other stuff. And yet that's all still team building. So that way it kind of pays off in the end where they need to get together and fight together. It's kind of more organic that way. So overall, I think this movie, they did a fantastic job of that. That was the most important thing.
I think so. There was a lot of, I mean, I definitely felt the chemistry between the characters, and that's really important, especially if you're trying to build a universe, because they're going to be, I mean, ideally they're going to be the constants in this thing. So you want, that's really where, you want the chemistry between the heroes to be there. I mean, not to say that the villains aren't important, because they are, but this is the hero story.
Yeah,
and
definitely.
If the audience doesn't connect with them, then you're screwed.
Yes, definitely, no doubt.
So that's my theory on it. Let's see if we can go through the plot, and and then after that we'll get into the actors and the main actors and all that. But
okay, all right. Well, first, since we're gonna go in the plot, the first, it opens up with Superman, right? Like the whole cell phone thing.
Yeah, that was an interesting choice.
I have to say that, see, if I did not know at all about this whole mustache gate with Henry Cavill and him, can't shave the mustache for the reshoots and they have to CGI it, all that stuff. Honestly, if I did not know any of that, I would have never noticed for me. And I was actually looking at his face and I was like, it looks like Henry Cavill to me. I don't get the whole hoopla behind it.
The whole thing with Henry's mustache. I had heard about it a little bit, but I was not thinking about it at all, really.
Me too. And I think that first scene with him in it actually, I remember looking at his face like, oh yeah, the mustache thing, and then I was like, he looks fine, and I got over it, and I never looked for it again,
Right. No, I mean that's kind of a weird thing, I guess, because he's shooting one of the Mission Impossible movies, so he's playing a character in there, and I guess contractually he couldn't shave it off, which to me is such a weird thing, because it's like, wouldn't it be easier to just shave it off and get hair and makeup, put a little fake thing on your lip there for a little bit until it grows back? Would that
I agree.
Would that not be a better, I don't know. I mean,
I don't know. Maybe
that's Hollywood for you.
maybe that's why it was a big hoopla, because it was like, why can't you shave it? Now we have to CGI it, So I don't know.
Like, would that not have been cheaper to just like put some fake facial hair on? I don't know.
I agree. I agree. I mean, like, you can get, like, because that's a practical effect instead of CGI effect where you're putting on hair. You can
Right.
have practical effects, as opposed to CGI a no mustache when you do have a mustache. That's not a practical effect.
I
I
don't
don't know.
know.
Maybe that's why it was a big hoopla. But again, to me, I remembered it. I looked for it real quick, and when I was satisfied with what I saw, I just got over it. Like, I didn't care anymore.
Gotcha. So yeah, no, it opened like with that like cell phone shot of like Superman kind of talking to a kid, which we haven't really seen yet in the movies, but was kind of cool, and
Yeah.
he was like kind of engaging with the kid, which is like, yeah, that's what Superman would do, and I mean, he seemed a little like uneasy because I guess this is early enough. Maybe he wasn't used to like being on camera, or
Right.
he seemed
Right.
like a little shy about it, but he was trying to be nice, and so it was kind of an interesting thing. But then it cut out, and then we had this real beautiful montage of just which reminded me of the opening of Watchmen, when everything. That seems like that's kind of a Zack Snyder thing, because they did that in Dawn of Justice too, where they have these like really artistic looking shots of people moving in slow motion with like music
Right.
in the background, and
Right. Right.
but a lot is happening with it. So that's definitely a Snyder thing that he likes to do.
Yeah. I can't remember what the next scene. Where they go from there?
No,
Is it Batman? Oh, it was Batman. It was Batman after that.
yeah, no, yeah. Well, I mean, we opened up with a lot of different shots of like, I guess people mourning Superman's death,
Oh, okay. Yeah. Yeah.
and yeah, we did have the opening shot, I think, with like Batman chasing down a parademon.
Well, he was chasing down like a thief,
Hmm.
but he was using him to get to a parademon. That's
Yeah,
pretty much what it was.
which is
So
pretty wild that he managed to figure out that, okay, yeah, these guys feed on fear. Which,
from
like,
yeah, yeah.
I don't know how he was able to deduce that, but he's Batman,
I mean, he's the greatest detective, right?
pretty much. Um, I'm going through the plot according to Wikipedia right
Yeah.
now. So
Yeah, so he's figuring out, like, man, these parademons are coming out. It seems like they show up more, I guess, as more people are scared or something like that. So he pretty much figured it out that, okay, how can I get a hold of these parademons and what are they about, type of thing.
he's like starting to see what's going on. So obviously he wants to call Diana and be like, yeah, I think it's time to assemble the team.
Yeah. Hey, I gotta say the rooftops with him at the beginning like that, like, it looked awesome because it looks like the like the gothic Gotham, like the really dark and scary Gotham. Did you
It
notice that?
it did. I couldn't. It seemed like a lot of that was with green screen. I couldn't tell if it was on a location or not, but
Yeah.
there was even the way it was lighting. It definitely looked brighter in a way.
Yeah. Well, brighter? I would say it's like darker.
Well, I mean, just even I mean, it was certainly the background itself was dark, but there was something
Yeah.
in the lighting, I guess, like it was very well lit.
Okay.
At least it came that way to me. And I'm going this after like a grand total of one viewing, so I might feel
Yeah, yeah,
differently
yeah,
in the future. But like
yeah.
it was
I
sort
felt
of
like it was always dark and rainy. And it's just like alleyway
yeah,
type of setting.
yeah. So so basically, as far as like the main plot and why they were getting together, apparently thousands of years before, Steppenwolf, who is the uncle of Darkseid,
He
um,
is the nephew of Darkseid.
no, Darkseid is actually his nephew.
In this movie, he is the nephew of Darkseid. In the comics, he is
Are you
the
sure about
he
that?
yeah. In the comics, he is the uncle of Darkseid. But in
Where did
they
it say?
change.
Where did it
They
say
changed
that
this.
Dark
Pull it up. But they changed the storyline where he's the nephew.
Did they?
Let's see.
I didn't pick up on that at all, so I don't know where they would say that. But regardless, I mean, either way, he's there with these parademons. They're trying
Right.
to remake the Earth into basically an extension of Apocalypse. And
Right.
apparently they were there thousands of years ago, and and they were defeated by like a huge army that included the Olympian gods, the Amazons,
Yeah, man.
the
That was
Atlanteans,
awesome.
humans, and there was at least one Green Lantern in there,
Yes.
which was
I
pretty
love
wild.
that.
That's their way of sort of invoking the Green Lantern Corps, which was
That entire scene was fantastic. Like it was
was,
fantastic
yeah.
seeing like all the different, I guess you could say races. But
it looked like something out of Lord of the Rings. Like it was pretty wild. Like
yeah.
I mean, and I guess with the effects, with the sky burning red and everything, it looked definitely more surreal than like obviously CGI, but
Right.
but it definitely looked otherworldly, almost like a video game.
Yeah. Yeah. And I loved, I swear that one with the lightning powers, I think that was like young Zeus.
Oh, it must have been. I mean, there was so much going on, I didn't really have time to notice everybody who was involved with that. But it does sort of lend. It's sort of for me, it makes me think that there's definitely a connection between the Olympian gods and the quote unquote new gods from Amazon, from Apocalypse. I mean, like I don't know exactly what the connection is there, because I don't think they're at because a lot of them can be killed. Like they're not actual deities, but they're very very powerful beings. So I'm not sure if there's like an extraterrestrial connection there between the people from Apocalypse and New Genesis and Earth, Olympus. I'm not sure what the deal is there, but there's obviously a connection there somewhere.
Well, what I took from it is they kept saying, like, they emphasized the old gods.
Yes.
So this is the first time that they actually said the old gods, because Jack Kirby's thing with Apocalypse
the fourth world.
is that they're called the new gods.
Right.
So I don't know if they have a relationship as far as like bloodlines or anything like that, but I wonder if it's like they were in battle, like they found Earth, were in battle, and they were just like, oh, you have godlike powers, but it's nothing compared to us. You're the old gods, and we're the new gods.
Yes.
Like I don't know if that's the case, if that or maybe they are related somehow. I don't know.
Something's going on there.
But they emphasize old gods in there a lot because that's like a little nod for the new gods that Jack Kirby wrote.
Yeah. Now I'm not as familiar with that with those comics that the Jack Kirby wrote all those years ago. I know that's been around for a long time, but
right.
Like there's definitely a connection there, and I'm sure that'll be explored in further movies. But yeah, they were able to defeat Steppenwolf's army and separate the like 3 mother boxes and hide them in different places on Earth. So we're to understand that thousands of years later, it was either a lot of different events that led to the mother boxes being activated, mainly Superman being killed by Doomsday.
Yeah, I mean they didn't. Exactly.
It was a little bit vague. I think part of it has to do with maybe Zod and the Kryptonians showing up, and then later Lex Luthor messing around with the stuff in the scout ship. I'm sure
There it is. That's got to be it.
Yeah. So Lex, I mean, and which we only saw in the extended version of Batman vs Superman. It wasn't in the theatrical cut, but maybe they'll.
Right.
But maybe they'll.
That had to have been in. Is that like not only was Superman gone, but also the other Kryptonians There was no lanterns there, and then you got Lex Luthor like messing with the mother box. So it's almost like it was just a here's a phone call. And Steppenwolf looking into it like, oh, there's nobody that can beat me up down there now.
Which I mean, if you remember at the end of Batman versus Superman, once Lex was in jail talking to Batman,
right.
that was the stuff he was So he was already in the loony bin by that point, but
right.
But obviously he knew that that something was coming.
Right. He knew something big and powerful was coming for sure.
So clearly Lex got the tip, and that's whether that was his rationale for creating Doomsday, I'm not sure. We'll never know for sure with that. But either way, the mother boxes get activated. Steppenwolf wakes up on Themyscira.
I gotta say that entrance. That was a badass entrance.
Yeah, I mean it's pretty wild, like hearing the boom tubes, from Apocalypse. Like actually seeing that on screen in live action was pretty wild.
That was cool. That was so cool.
Because I was so used to seeing that from the Superman animated series and the Justice League, and
it looked just like it.
Pretty much.
I mean, very much like it.
Yes, it also reminded me of like the Bifrost that Thor uses in the Marvel films.
Yep. It's like a tunnel type of thing that you go through.
Yeah.
So
the boxes get activated. Steppenwolf shows up at Themyscira, and that causes a big thing.
That whole scene with the Amazonians. Yeah. That was great. That was so good. I mean, he's obviously a big, powerful being, but the Amazons, obviously they were, they're stronger than just normal, athletic women.
For sure. They're definitely stronger than most humans.
Yeah, I mean, those two women like holding up that gate, that concrete gate or whatever that was coming down. Not concrete, but the stone. Gates.
And I know Hippolyta managed to slide out of there. And there were some of them willing to, shut off, to seal the gate and seal themselves inside just to keep everyone safe, because that's how serious it was.
Right.
So
that was a cool scene.
But Steppenwolf did get out, and he started attacking a bunch of the Amazons. And
now I have to say, this is where my the biggest flaw, one of the biggest flaws, is that Steppenwolf, that character, was just how he looked. I mean, to me, it just looked like a video game that was plugged into a live action scene. The entire all of these scenes looked that way. Like you could tell it was not a motion captured character. And that takes a lot of work. It takes a lot of time and all that stuff. But
it's
worth it.
There was motion capture involved, but I mean. Partially, I'm thinking.
Well, his face was all digitized. Like it wasn't mocap. His face.
Yeah.
You look when he's talking, it's like it just looks like a video game. It doesn't look like somebody that could when you and I talk, the way your face, moves around and interacts and all that stuff. All that is captured. Motion captured. It makes a difference as opposed to just trying to do it by computer.
Absolutely, and I mean, you could have also used like a little bit of makeup and prosthetics, go old school with that, and that would have been fine, and just digitize the rest of the body. I don't know. But,
I would agree. I don't want to harp on bad things.
We don't want to split hairs here. I didn't have an issue with it. I mean, personally, it's to me, I mean, I don't know. I just that stuff like that. Unless it's like really, really bad, it doesn't really bother me all that much. But
I guess it was hard for me to buy, especially when they're like running away and fighting against him. It was like it doesn't look like he's actually there. They're just like here's the area you need to be concerned about.
Yeah, I don't know. That's fair. I mean, when they had the battle there on Themyscira, I mean. Mm-hmm. You could tell a lot of it was CGI because it's not a real place.
Sure.
It would have been cool if they had like a location that they did, but I mean, I imagine that would be this movie's already pretty expensive as it is.
Yeah.
So
Themyscira was a little bit bigger than I thought it was. I mean, it was like they had these it looked like a large field. Like that they were running the horses on, you know?
Yeah, yeah.
Like, it was like a little bit bigger than I thought it would be, which is fine. I thought it was cool.
Right. So I'm not sure how many of the Amazons got killed in that whole battle, but
A lot.
yeah. So it's like, I mean, I don't know how much of the island was destroyed.
Right.
So
Right.
it was never really said, but it was implied that he got out, and I don't think Hippolyta was killed.
No.
Her mother, but
No, because she was. Remember, she had to light that fire.
yeah. They were able to warn. They were able
Warn.
to warn Diana.
Yeah.
Which
She's the one who let loose the arrow.
Which I think that must have hit like somewhere in Greece. It looked like it was in the Parthenon or something.
Yeah. It looked just like that. Yeah. Yep.
So that's how that's how Diana got the tip that something was up.
Right.
So right off the bat they go and find Arthur Curry and Barry Allen, which was interesting.
Was that next, or was it Wonder Woman?
Oh yeah, no, Wonder Woman was already talking to Bruce by this point.
Okay.
And
it wasn't her. Was her scene with the museum? Was that after Aquaman?
I think it was before. It's a shame. I'm trying to follow along the plot, based on.
So I think it was
Wikipedia,
Wonder Woman next, and then it's Batman looking out for Aquaman.
Yeah, no, I mean her foiling that bank robbery in London, that was pretty rad. That whole sequence was great.
Dude,
I love everything you want it to be.
I love the scene that like they extended it. Like there was more to it where she's not just dodging a bullet, but like she's like going down the line of people and walking.
And just whipping out the bracelet, so she bullets and it was awesome.
That was so cool.
Yeah, I mean, it was. What more can you say? I mean, she's awesome as Wonder Woman, Gal Gadot.
Yeah.
So Bruce ends up going after Aquaman, Arthur Curry. I guess I don't remember exactly where they were. I think they were probably in like
somewhere cold.
I think it was in like Siberia or something.
Was it?
Or like somewhere in Russia. I mean, it was somewhere where they didn't speak English. I know that. It looked like either Russian or Eastern European.
Okay. I was figuring it was like Greenland, something like that.
Maybe.
Yeah.
Maybe. So Jason Momoa's version of Arthur Curry was really interesting.
I loved it.
It was great because I was a little worried that he'd be too jokey in this thing.
Yeah.
But it kind of made sense, in terms of where that character was at, because he's not the king yet. Like he's not the king of Atlantis
nowhere near.
yet. He's been to Atlantis. Like he knows what his roots are, but he still doesn't feel like he's still not 100% comfortable with that. Right. And he's very much a man of two different worlds, kind of like Clark was during Man of Steel. So he's like kind of figuring out what he's supposed to do, and while he's there, he's just helping people along the way.
Yep. And then all of a sudden, you got this guy looking for you, knowing about your secrets.
Yeah, and not only that, but figuring out that he's Batman.
Right.
So
right.
So yeah, that was kind of a cool sequence, and it led you to believe that.
I love how Aquaman can just he's pretty much can fly in the water.
Oh yeah, yeah. He swims almost as fast as Superman can fly, which is saying something.
Right. That's pretty cool, but only in the water, which makes sense.
Which is true. I mean, that's true to form in the comics. That's very accurate.
I thought they just looked so cool seeing that. I love that. It sounded cool, it looked cool. And I have to say, like, man, I don't know if we're up to this scene yet, but his underwater scenes, like, I didn't know just how well that was gonna look, but they really pulled it off for me.
I was really looking forward to those, and it didn't disappoint.
That fight underwater against Steppenwolf.
Yeah,
it was awesome, man. It was so awesome. Mira was like, she got some power to her,
Yeah. She's a sorceress. Like she has some magic power.
Yeah, that was so cool. I loved all of that.
Yeah.
And she took a hit from Steppenwolf and she was okay,
Mm-hmm.
and like. Then you have Aquaman Arthur coming in to try and help out. I mean, it just looked cool. I can't wait for the Aquaman movie.
There, yeah, definitely. And of course, finding and then Bruce also finds Barry. We get a
Yes,
little bit more info about him. He's been the Flash for a short time now. Like he
a
designed
short
his own
time.
suit.
Right,
He's still relatively new at it, still kind of figuring it out, but he seems to have like a relative handle on what his powers are.
right,
Like
right.
you could tell like he's a smart kid, and he definitely he doesn't have a job. He's like basically a squatter at this point,
Yeah, yeah.
which was interesting. I'm not sure exactly how he got to that point, but
Well, I don't know. Maybe I think was just so dead set on. I don't know. I feel like he was dead set about his dad being framed, and maybe he didn't like think about going into the criminal justice route, but rather I think he was just I don't know if he was like thrown off by his dad being framed, and now he's kind of like a squatter because he didn't really do a whole lot with his life, you know,
yeah, for
or like
sure. They definitely went the sort of what the New 52,
yeah, yeah.
continuity, and which the TV show is doing the same thing as well. Um, I mean,
I love I was telling you earlier in the day like I love that Barry, really if you take away the Speed Force, he's just unathletic nerd, like
absolutely, and that's always been Barry Allen's appeal in the comics is that he was very much the everyman.
okay. I
You
just
know.
felt like in the comics he's just like this big buff dude that can run fast.
Well, I mean, he definitely becomes that, but
Okay.
um, but like he was always a police scientist, very much a down to earth guy.
Okay.
Um, but like pretty much universally just loved by all the heroes.
Yeah.
And
Yeah. And
in fact, I
he
remember.
was so funny.
In fact, I remember in the comics reading a quote that Bruce said. He's like, if my parents hadn't been killed, I would hope that I would have turned out to be a man like Barry Allen.
Oh,
So,
nice.
but
Nice.
um, but yeah, Ezra Miller's take on Barry Allen was a little bit more goofy, a little bit more well, not necessarily goofy, but definitely quirky and
Yeah, quirky.
a little more awkward and nerdy, which was a little bit
I,
different than what Grant Gustin does on the TV show as Barry
See,
Allen.
I don't watch the TV show, so
Right,
it's hard for me to be able to compare it.
right. Well, I mean, I do, and I will say that Grant Gustin's Barry Allen is probably, from what I understand, is a little bit closer to the comics version of what Barry Allen is. I felt
Uh
like
huh.
Ezra Miller's Barry kind of had elements of Wally West in there as well,
Mhm.
especially with the comedy,
Yeah.
but it worked. Like it didn't feel like it was totally out of place, and obviously
I
he
felt
was,
like I
yeah,
felt like Barry Allen was like very much like he represented all of us.
yeah,
Like like he was always starstruck. Like
absolutely, yeah,
that
and
would
I
be
think that's
us.
always been the appeal of that character. He's always been kind of like the everyman's way in to all
Right.
this stuff going on. So I
Right.
thought he
Right.
just nailed that vibe
Yeah.
really just wonderfully.
Oh yeah. Yeah. Oh
And
yeah. Yep.
yeah, and so Diana ended up finding Victor Stone, who we had kind of seen a glimpse of in Batman versus Superman in terms of
Mhm.
you know going to that different files that Bruce and
Yeah.
Diana stole from Lex, and I was thinking about Cyborg. I was a little bit weary about him being in the movie just because I didn't really think he was that interesting of a character
Me too. I was in the same
going into
boat.
it. I mean, I had known about him. He certainly wasn't like a top tier DC character. Like he originally
No.
came out. He was originally in the comics during the '80s as part of the new Teen Titans.
Yeah.
So he would be there alongside Nightwing and Starfire and Beast Boy
Right. Right.
and he's been shown in like the Teen Titans cartoon show and some of the other DC cartoons. But like I wasn't really sure about adding him in there as part of the league. but he actually turned out to be a really interesting character.
Yeah, I have to agree. I mean, like point for point, I was wondering, I'm probably not gonna care about this character that much. I don't even know why he's in it, but they went that route, so we'll see. I probably won't care afterwards. But I wanted more of Cyborg the
He
more we
had
got to know him.
he had a lot of emotional layers going on.
Oh, for
especially,
sure.
Especially the fact that he has to be this guy 24/7. He can't
Right.
really blend into society like the other
Well,
guys
what's
can.
kind of unique about this one is it's almost like it's the same, but it's the opposite of Clark Kent and Superman, and the fact that his with Clark, his dad was trying to protect him and didn't want him out in the world and not exposed. As opposed to this one, like Cyborg's dad, like, listen, can we just come out? I want you to be able to show yourself to the world. I want you to do this. And he's like, no, I'm too afraid of what could happen because I'm not in control. I don't know what's going on with I don't know what's happening to me right now.
Oh yeah, no,
You know?
and there's a chance that Cyborg might get his own movie, which would be cool, like because
Yeah.
there's a lot of layers going on with the relationship with his dad, and
Yeah.
how the accident that made him cyborg kind of cost the life of his mom, and
Oh yeah.
and
Wait,
he
no.
didn't really have a great relationship with his dad even before that.
Yeah.
Like his
Yeah.
dad was there, but like he wasn't really there like emotionally and mentally, as far as like, so that they didn't really have a great relationship because because Victor was all about playing football and his dad didn't want anything to do with that. He was like, no, you should go into science. And so there was a lot of backstory with Cyborg
Yeah.
and his dad, and
For sure.
it should be interesting. But
I just love that you got to spend some time with each character a little bit, Like you actually got you got 5-10 minutes of each one just kind of knowing a little bit of their situation. Like you had no clue what it was for Cyborg. I didn't know that he was struggling, I figured he'd just be like, "Oh, I got some cool gadgets now."
sure. And there was even the scene when they were on the Kryptonian scout ship where he was able to replicate like the Kryptonian keys and stuff, which I thought
that
was
was
really
so cool.
Like maybe he'll like help Superman build like a Fortress of Solitude or something.
That would be cool.
He's got the tech to be able to do that.
I wonder if he could be used for because Superman, he has the Codex in his blood. I
That's
wonder
true.
I wonder if they'll use Cyborg to kind of help tap into that.
Maybe.
Yeah.
I mean, but you also have that element where it's like, his stuff was created through the mother box, so his system could be corrupted by Darkseid.
Ayo, I didn't even think about that. Yeah.
So that might be an issue later on, especially he's got like if his armor is doing things without his control, that could be problematic down the road.
Oh yeah.
But there was a scene where Steppenwolf attacked Atlantis. That was really cool, just to see that underwater fight like that. And I was curious how they were going to make the Atlanteans talk to each other underwater.
Yeah, I was curious too.
And so they had this like bubble effect.
Yeah.
Where it's like whenever they wanted to talk to each other, they would just like get in this like magic bubble.
What I want to know is, was this a Snyder Whedon idea or was this a James Wan idea? Because he's the one that's making the movie.
See, that's the thing. I don't know.
Like, I wonder if James Wan was like, "Hey, I know you're making this, but this is what we're doing, and if you wanna jump on it, I'll show you what we're doing."
I mean, I'm sure someone had to be making those decisions. And again, I don't know who, I don't know if it's Jeff Johns or whoever is, sort of in charge of DC Films right now.
Yeah. What do you think about the bubble? I thought it was cool.
It was cool. It was a cool effect. I was thinking, oh, that's something I hadn't thought of.
Yeah,
that's something
I didn't either.
Maybe they work it out like they're amphibians or something, or...
Right.
Well, not necessarily because they're fish. They breathe underwater.
Yeah.
But I'm not sure if that was just a thing with Arthur and Mira, or
I'm trying to figure out if maybe a lot of their city has like, that bubble effect.
See, I don't know, because I mean, as far as I know, they all breathe underwater, and at least that's how it's depicted in the comics. In the animated series, it was a little bit different, So
Yeah, I think in the animated they had like an actual bubble.
yeah, because they were just like, this is gonna be too crazy to animate.
Yeah,
That was
yeah.
basically why they did that. But
Yeah.
so now, if they're gonna make an entire movie underwater or a majority of it, then we'll have to see how that goes.
Well, I'm excited to see it.
Yeah,
You know,
I would love to see an Aquaman movie. So we even met Commissioner Gordon, played by J.K. Simmons, which was
and he played the part just fine, man.
yeah,
I was like, yeah, it looks like Commissioner Gordon.
he did. I mean, even with the fedora and trench coat, which I don't know
Yep.
too many people who still dress like that nowadays, but it was fine.
Oh, come on. I see you go to work like every Friday in that thing. What are you
Well, I
talking
mean
about?
that's on Casual Friday. What are you talking about?
It's how you roll. That's your
So I mean
casual.
that's a huge get for the universe to have J.K. Simmons. I mean, he's a great actor.
Yeah,
Obviously got his start, or at least obviously a lot of us knew him as J.
yeah,
Jonah Jameson, but now he's on the
yeah,
DC side, and yeah, he's a great choice for Jim Gordon.
yeah, man.
Yeah, so eventually they got a hold of a mother box, and Bruce had the idea to use that to resurrect Superman, which I'm glad they at least acknowledged, like, this could go really, really badly.
Pet Cemetery.
Yeah,
I love that line by Barry.
and it was interesting how Bruce, when they said, like, no, like, he's dead, Bruce was like, well, we don't know what state he's in.
Yeah, it's kind of like that. Kind of sets it up to be like, okay, he's not. Oh, they also said he also said a line in there about like what do you do with a non-degenerating body? Like, did you notice that?
Yeah,
What do you do?
I guess,
Like,
because it's like, how?
because it's showing that like his body doesn't rot.
Yeah, I guess. I mean, I would think, like, because Superman is not immortal. We know that. Even under a yellow sun, like, he can die.
Yeah,
I mean, eventually, I mean, I'm sure he would outlive most humans.
or
Clearly.
maybe his body just takes forever to degenerate.
I mean, but even a Kryptonian dead body even under a yellow sun, that would still have to decompose eventually.
Right. I guess it just takes forever. But I mean, there was that line in there that's like, what? Again, maybe he's speaking relatively, like in their lifetime, it doesn't really degenerate.
Right, and I guess just figuring out the again, we're figuring out this fictional science here and
Sure.
trying to justify it, but it's like,
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
it's possible
Well,
that it's possible that, like, his body after getting stabbed might have, like, just gone to panic mode and shut down to heal,
right. Right.
and kind of and gave pretty much the appearance of his heart stopping, even though maybe it didn't. It was just this is Superman we're dealing with.
Right. Right. It's like one beat every year.
Right, and that's enough.
Yeah. Yeah.
I'm just trying to figure out what the rules are there, but
Yeah.
there do have to be some kind of rules. But it
Well,
was,
I mean, they pretty much established like, hey, listen, if he's not, we don't know what state he's in, even though we might have declared him dead.
right.
That's not, we can't fully trust that that's the actual case.
Oh, and by the way, I forgot to give a spoiler warning at the beginning of this, but if you're this deep into it, sorry, spoiler alert.
Yeah,
I know
yeah.
I'm really late with that, but
So anyway, so yeah, I mean, they figured out that like, okay, this box is helps like create things, right?
yeah, it helps, like, just offer, like, it generates energy into a particular host, and obviously Superman's body would be a solar battery, basically.
Uh huh.
So between that and the mother box, the
And
the incubation waters in
yes.
the Kryptonian scout ship,
yeah.
combined with Barry's speed force, they figure that might be enough to revive him.
Right. Well, the very Speed Force was only needed because the mother box itself couldn't generate enough.
Yeah.
They said the mother box itself couldn't generate enough.
It's funny. I'm almost reminded of Back to the Future, how they needed plutonium to generate the 1.41
Yes.
gigawatts.
Yes.
Like they needed a flux capacitor to bring Superman back. Maybe, I don't know.
I mean, I didn't understand why he had to tap it the exact moment it touched the water, as opposed to like it's in the water. Can you now touch it? But you know, I was like, here, let me throw it in the water. When you're ready, you just zap it. You know, but it made for a cool effect.
Yeah, no, it's fine. It's like I'll allow it. I'll go with it.
Yeah, I mean, it made for a cool scene.
And I was just figuring, like, well, I mean, because that was my whole thing. It's like, okay, how are they going to bring him back where it's not just like total BS? And this one, I mean, yeah, granted, it's a leap of faith, but
you know what?
I was okay with it.
I have to say they could have gone a lot of different ways as far as like how to bring him back. You know, put him in a black suit and put it in like a regeneration chamber in his fortress and all that other stuff. There could have gone a lot of ways, but I was fully satisfied with what they did. And and when he just like burst out of there and up in the sky, I'm no joke. Like I was so pumped. I was like, yes. You know, like I was fist pumping. Like I could feel the adrenaline rushing back. Like I like this. You know. I don't know how you felt, but I was pretty pumped that.
I was thrilled.
And I was satisfied with how they did it.
Yeah, I mean, I was okay with it. I'm like, okay, you know, it was a bit of a convoluted thing, but it was enough where it made sense in this context, where it's like, you know what, I'll allow it. He's back.
Yeah.
you know?
And he's back, and he looked good. You know.
Yeah. And it kind of reminded me of like the Lazarus Pit.
Yeah, except the Lazarus Pit took forever.
Did it?
It took forever. With you talking about with Ra's al Ghul?
Yeah, with Ra's al Ghul.
He always had to like soak in that thing for a long time.
Did he? I mean, because
it wasn't, at least in the animated series and all the other stuff. Like it's never like it's not like a Blade thing where he falls into a pool of blood and he just drinks up and he's, you know, it comes right back out like, oh, I'm ready to go. With Rage, it was like, it's almost like he needed protectors for him while he takes he goes in there for a bath for a long time.
Right.
Stuff like that.
I mean, that's, I don't know. I never really thought about it like that. I always just assume they just lowered him in for a quick dip and then he's back.
No, it was always for long periods of time.
But I mean, it was kind of consistent with that, where it's like he'd come out and he'd be a little whacked out, you know, with all the adrenaline.
Yeah.
And that was the case with Clark when he came out. He was
this whole scene. Whole scene is like my favorite scene. Like starting from bringing back Superman from the, like, this is like going to be my favorite scene that we're going to talk about. I love this scene. But go ahead, yeah, so he brings it back and all of a sudden, like, he's like pumped full of adrenaline, he's dazed and confused, doesn't know what's going on, he sees like his statue all broken.
Yeah.
Right? He goes to the statue.
He kind of gets what's going on, but still, like, it's still a little fuzzy, you know, it's just...
Right.
Yeah, he's just running on just...
And then he turns around and he sees these, like, 4 characters that, like, you know, he recognizes one of them.
Yeah.
But the other ones are, like, you know, they're just standing there, not necessarily ready for battle, but just, like, it's not exactly the most friendly, welcoming stances.
Yeah,
you know?
and then, of course, Cyborg's, you know, stuff starts going haywire and accidentally fires a rocket at him, so it was pretty much on from there.
Oh,
I mean, just the best part of it for me was like when Flash tried to like run and like get the jump on him, and he just looks around and just gives him a side glance, and just the look on Barry's face is like, oh shoot.
I loved all of it. I love that suit, man. I loved it because they really established like, hey, this is Superman. Okay, this is Superman. compared to all the other heroes, and that he was just kicking the snot out of the league. I mean, like,
I
was just,
I was surprised that like the lasso of truth didn't like kind of calm him down a little bit. You could see it started to have a little bit of effect on him, but he was just so amped up that he just shrugged it off.
well, I think it was that the lasso of truth will only like make you talk. It doesn't calm you down.
Right. Well, I figured at least would have like made him.
It just makes you speak your mind rather without a filter. That's what
I guess,
it is.
or at least it puts you under some sort of trance or whatever. But I mean, whatever it is, it looked like it started to affect him for a little bit, but then he just kind of just shrugged it off and just kind of hyped up.
And he's just throwing people aside. He's like, punching Aquaman away, and then he's got like, but he had Wonder Woman on one arm, and he had Cyborg in the other arm. And I love that, like what you just said with Barry, just like, all right, I'm gonna get the jump on this guy and go behind him. And up to this point, Barry has never ever had to deal with anybody like
right.
knowing what he can do, or like ever even close to seeing what he can do. So he's like takes off, and I love the way they did it. That shot, it was a good payoff. It was like he's going around, and like it looks like he's still. And then the way all of a sudden like Superman starts to turn his head first.
He almost just kind of gives him like the side eye. He's like, really, kid?
Yeah,
really, you're doing this?
He's like catches him. His eyes turn, and he's just like, and then he go, like you said, goes to Barry's face, and he's like. It's like, what is happening? How is he Is he really following me?
Right.
Like,
it was perfect.
It was awesome.
And then, of course, he grabs poor, Batman, and just is about to like snap his neck, and just like he kind of remembers, although I guess he didn't fully remember like the end of that battle where they made up. He just remembered the thing like, do you bleed? Like that was crazy.
Yeah, I think I mean, that was obviously a part of his memory that he was focused on.
No, thankfully, like, they got Lois to show up. I guess Alfred brought Lois.
Well, that was the whole, what I was telling you today. That was the payoff from Batman v Superman.
Yeah.
That was like, Lois is the key. So apparently there was some kind of timeline where Superman was still out of control.
Right.
And it was Flash, so I was like, there's got to be some way we can change this. And he goes back to warn Bruce, like, hey, Lois. Remember, always Lois. Always Lois. And I love that.
I could spend an entire podcast talking about that scene and just trying to figure out what was going on there.
Right.
But yeah,
I love that they paid it off, because I was like, okay, here we go. They're going to bring in some kind of tank with a big, kryptonite missile or kryptonite bullet or whatever. But no, it was Lois.
I thought that was really like a sweet moment where it's like she kind of got like he kind of noticed her, and that was like his way of calming down and just kind of bringing himself back into it.
I gotta say, I have to go into detail a little bit more just because this is my favorite scene. Like, one of the best lines was from Superman when he's just got Batman, hanging in the air by his throat, and he's like, you won't. He's like, what is it? You won't let me live, and yet you won't let me die.
Yeah.
Or something like that. Like, I was like, oh, like, I mean, he's kind of got him too. He's got a point. He's pretty ticked at him about all that, and then.
He's like, dude, what is your problem?
Yeah, I love the whole and it says the "Do you bleed" line right back at him. And then even when Lois shows up, dude, were you not cracking up when he just like chucks Batman like
oh my gosh,
a rag doll?
That was, yeah, he just like
oh my god.
Just dropped him like totally like it was nothing, and
like a rag doll, like it was,
yeah.
And I was dying when it cuts back to Batman and he's like, yep, something's definitely bleeding.
Yeah, no, I bleed. Yeah.
Yeah. Oh man, that was such a great scene. I love that entire scene. That was so cool.
It was great. It didn't seem like overly forced, like they were trying to force a fight there.
Right.
It seemed to happen naturally because he was just so jacked up coming out of
Yeah.
the pool.
I mean, can you
And so
blame him?
finally,
Can you blame the guy?
and it was cool that it was Lois who kind of brought him back to his old self.
Right. Right. That was cool. That was cool. It really just grounded him. Like, okay, you know what? Nothing else matters. This is the one person that matters. You
Yeah.
know.
So they finally get to Russia where Steppenwolf has the 3 boxes, and he's about to enact his big plan, and so that's where like the big final battle goes, and it's everything you'd expect. I mean, it's nothing we haven't seen before in superhero movies, but it's still fun.
Yeah.
It's still just really cool. Like I love that big like that big aircraft that Bruce designed that allowed him to take the Batmobile in and just
Right. That was cool.
yeah.
Yeah, they did such a good job of that, and the team, like, seriously, the teamwork in this one is phenomenal. Like, phenomenal. They did such a great job of taking advantage of each character and working together, using their abilities for their advantage, and like. To me, it was all a big payoff because before that, these guys were struggling with each other. They were struggling to form this team of, I don't know, misfits just all of a sudden thrown together.
And it was cool how like even Bruce admitted he's like, I'm never going to be able to lead them and inspire them as well as Clark will.
Right.
And I thought it was cool, and I could tell like sort of like by the end of the movie they had started to really become friends again.
I love the scene of Flash, going to help out the civilians, and then Superman, he breaks up his battle with Steppenwolf to go help out, and like he's like, okay, you take the left, I'll take the right, and you got Flash like helping. You got a family on a truck, pushing them to safety, and he looks over, and he's Superman carrying an entire building.
It's like, well, yeah, what are you gonna do? But it was great. It was like, I mean, it was like all this stuff right out of the Justice League cartoon show that I loved.
Right.
And out of the
that
comics,
was so great.
it was just, it was so cool seeing it all, especially by the time Superman was able to join them.
And you can.
All
And
the shots of them standing together at the end, like, man,
all the fan service. You're just like, even towards the end, they focused in on the Trinity of like Batman and Wonder Woman and Superman. There's a couple of shots where it's just them, which was great. I have to say with the Battle of Steppenwolf, it was good, and it really showed why he is so concerned about a planet having Kryptonians or even Green Lanterns, because when Superman came, it was like, first of all, Steppenwolf was pretty much more than held his own against the League, and then all of a sudden Superman comes, and it's like, he was his BITC,
Yeah.
And even when Superman left, and he's coming back, and he's just like, oh, is this guy bothering you still? And he's like, bam, bam, like,
oh yeah,
he was nothing compared to him.
Yeah. Yeah, it was cool. Like, it's always cool to see Superman just like go and just be able to just
unleash.
Yeah, just cut loose on somebody, whether it's
because he's always holding back.
Yeah, whether it's Zod or Doomsday and now Steppenwolf.
Right.
It's always cool to see him be able to throw down with guys.
Right.
So, yeah, I mean, all of that was great. I mean, it was fan service, like you said, but
a ton of fan service. The shots,
but in the most natural way, I thought. It didn't feel like we were being pandered to or anything like that.
Right.
So I was really happy with it, and they managed to separate the mother boxes, and basically your standard superhero affair where they defeat Steppenwolf, but they don't kill him. He does manage to get away, but
like some of the jokes in here, like I actually didn't mind some of the jokes. Like I didn't know if I would mind or not.
No, like it didn't get overly jokey.
Even when Superman was like, he helped separate those mother boxes, and he's like, is this something, or like and Cyborg said, like, you and I can take the explosion, and like, and like, Superman, like, he's laying on the ground and is like, I think I'd rather be dead, like.
Which was cool just to see him have some vulnerabilities too.
Yeah.
Like there was some stuff that could knock him down, and but like you saw, I felt like in this movie more than any of the others, you got to see Henry Cavill really enjoying himself in the role,
Yeah.
and it's like, yeah,
and they gave him lines, like they gave him a purpose.
Yeah, they were able to show him more of that lighthearted personality, which is what Superman's all about. Like, he's not dark and brooding. And I mean, yeah, a lot of people had issues with the earlier films about that. I didn't have a problem with it, but at least here we got to see more of that human side of him. So yeah, it was great. Like, I was, and just the ending scenes where it's like they're rebuilding Wayne Manor, but
that was cool.
But making that like sort of like an initial Hall of Justice.
I love that, the Hall of Justice at the original Wayne Manor,
and suggesting that there may be more people they want to recruit to the team, which was cool.
Yep.
Sort of lays the groundwork for future heroes.
Did I mention in the in that scene this is going back now, but in that scene of Steppenwolf fighting against the Amazons and the Atlanteans and the humans, like, that was so cool that they made like that extra focus of the Green Lantern. Like, here's a Green Lantern, he's using his ring, he's fighting, and then he's dying, and then they made like an extra focus on that ring swirling around Steppenwolf and then going off to like find a host. I thought it's such a cool way
it definitely was a cool way to introduce it. I think a lot of people who don't know anything about Green Lanterns might not have gotten that, but it was enough where like the fans will, it's enough of an Easter egg. You can still get the idea.
Yeah, you can still, even if you don't know, you can still get the idea, like, oh well, that guy died, but that that ring's it's still going around and it shoots off somewhere.
Like, even if you don't know, it's like, okay, that guy's something. I don't know what it is, but I have a feeling that's going to pay off later down the road.
Yeah, definitely. So that's cool now they're recruiting more, which
for sure. And Barry gets a job at the Central City Police Department as the scientist. Where he's supposed to be.
I think that's a cool way to like. It's like more natural why he gets that job. Like, it's, his dad's like, I want you to be something. He's like, but he's been stuck in one place. Now he's like, after being encouraged by, kind of like being a superhero. Like, even Batman had to encourage him, like, hey, you save one person at a time, and then you'll know what to do next.
Right.
Like,
and
his confidence is being built.
I hope that more of I certainly hope that he gets his own movie, and that when he does, they explore more of his backstory about, like, how he grew up and how he got to be where he is, and and all that stuff. Because I know in the show they have it like where when his father got in prison, then he grew up with Iris West's family.
Okay.
So that was the whole thing. I don't know if they're going to do that in the movies or not, but so they had that. Aquaman goes back to Atlantis.
Dude, we didn't talk about the other funny scene. I love one of the funny scenes is when Aquaman, they're in the ship, and Aquaman is like accidentally sitting on the lasso of truth, but we don't know that. We don't know that as an audience, and all of a sudden he's just like talking and saying like some of the rude or like unfiltered things where it's like, this is like out of nowhere. Like, he's like, Batman, you've got no powers, you're gonna die. This person and this person, and like he's just wearing his heart on his sleeve, and they like point down to on the lasso, and he looks and he's like, oh, you gotta be kidding.
And I was trying to think, like, did Diana like secretly rope him up without him knowing about it?
Right. That was so funny. There was so much good in this movie. I just don't get why the critics didn't like it as much.
I mean, again, we haven't spent a ton of time with these characters yet, so maybe that's part of it. Maybe it's just people are just biased towards Marvel and against DC.
I think honestly, it's almost like the critics. It's like, this is the natural thing, is to like like, oh, usually we kind of rate this studio not so great, so I don't want to be on the wrong side of history, so I'd rather go with the flow.
I mean, who knows? Who knows? But anyways, towards the end, Barry gets his job. Arthur goes back to Atlantis.
Yep.
And and sort of a big happy ending. And I guess now that's one of those things where I hope they explain this further in the movies. How yes, Superman is back from the dead, but they had a full-on funeral for Clark Kent.
Yeah, I agree. I agree with that. Yep.
So
I gotta say that fan service right there, where he does the
opening
whole,
the shirt and
running down the alleyway to open.
Loved it.
I mean, that was great. That was great.
So how he ends up now, how he's able to bring Clark back from the dead, or at least have a cover story for that. I mean, first of all, there's no way Perry White doesn't know his secret by now. If he didn't before, then he's got to know.
Well, wasn't it like in the newspaper, like they reveal Clark Kent was Superman? I feel like they were like he was one of or I don't know.
In Batman vs Superman, where they had where the Daily Planet put out the newspaper, the front page said Superman dead, and then a couple pages in, they just have a little aside. Oh, by the way, we lost one of our reporters in the attack.
Oh, okay, I gotcha.
If Clark was out there covering it.
Okay.
And was just collateral damage or something.
I gotcha. Okay.
But considering they buried the body in Smallville, I don't know if it was open or closed casket.
It was closed.
Right. So
because Barry, when they dug the grave, they ran into the. You talking about the funeral service itself?
Right. So I mean, and again, especially it's how are they going to explain to people that Clark is back at the same time Superman is? It's.
You just. I mean, I don't know. You're just gonna have to accept it.
Pretty much. I guess so. Which I mean, it's fine. It would just be nice to have a little explanation of that. But I'm sure, hopefully we do if and when Man of Steel gets a sequel.
Gosh, they need it bad now. I mean, Superman really shined in this movie. Really shined.
I want him to have more of his own movies. He's got enough stuff where he can have his own adventures.
Oh yeah, no doubt.
Maybe bring in some other characters like Supergirl.
And Henry is awesome as Superman.
He is.
With all due respect to the other past Superman, I think that he is the Superman in my opinion. The best Superman.
That's high praise.
It is. And
I would agree with that.
And that's not downplaying what the others have done, because the others have done well.
Mm-hmm. I mean, either way, he's the one we've got right now. So
for sure.
Let's go with it.
Yeah.
And the post-credit scene were a lot of fun.
Oh my gosh, dude, the post-credit scenes.
I mean, that's one of the most iconic images from the comics is, the Flash and Superman having a race.
Yeah, that was. I mean, come on.
Now, normally they've shown it as Superman being on foot.
On foot. Right.
So, but it was fine.
That kind of makes sense, though, being that he flies, because he's faster at flying than he is running.
Right.
On
foot, Flash would smoke him, no problem.
Right. I mean, Superman's fast on foot, but he's not as fast as he would be flying.
Yeah.
But
that was fun, and then the scene all the way at the end of the credits. These
two scenes are arguably two best end credits, regardless of of any comic movie, in my opinion.
It was great. We see a shot of Deathstroke, played by Joe Manganiello,
and he looked just like Deathstroke
in full armor.
That was awesome.
Going to Lex Luthor's yacht, and
we didn't know that.
Yeah,
that was cool.
Because apparently Lex has escaped from Arkham Asylum.
Yep.
I mean, who knows how he did that, but apparently he's still got plenty of money and resources.
Yeah.
Because he's there pimping it out on a yacht.
Yeah.
And which, I mean, look, I had issues with some of the choices that Jesse Eisenberg made in Batman vs Superman, but like
Yeah.
in this scene, that like redeemed it.
Yeah, like he had the full suit.
He had, I mean, he had the, yeah, he was bald and he had the suit, but he had that swagger and that cockiness that Lex
Yes.
had, and which I had seen glimpses of it in Batman vs Superman before he went crazy.
Well, it's kind of like, you know, like I told you today, it's like the growth of Lex Luthor.
Yeah, it's like he's finally like the Lex that we all know and love.
Right.
And it was cool because they aged up, you know, Manganiello a little bit to look like Slade Wilson, which was good. You don't want Slade Wilson to be too young because that's like part of his character.
Right.
He's sort of like the anti-Captain America.
Yeah, I would say he's like the anti. Oh yeah, Captain America. Yeah.
He's a super soldier, basically.
Yeah. No, you're right.
And yeah, so they, you know, so he meets up with Lex, and you know, Lex suggests it's like, well, Superman's back now, and you know, they're forming a league. I think we should form a league of our own.
Yeah, that was awesome.
And then just cuts to credits. I'm like, yeah, yes, let it happen. Oh, I can't wait for that movie.
It's like, please continue.
Because you gotta think that maybe the second Suicide Squad movie is probably gonna dive into that a little bit.
Yeah, I mean, there's definitely an opportunity for that.
You already have plenty of villains there.
I mean, apparently that's how they're gonna lead Shazam or Black Adam is Suicide Squad.
Maybe
too. Well, I mean, I read that synopsis.
Maybe
like,
let's
came out with a synopsis on that, but about Suicide Squad tracking down a weapon of mass destruction.
Could be Black Adam. Could be
Black Adam or Shazam.
Yeah, either one.
You
know. We'll see about that. But let's go down the cast of Justice League real quick. You know, obviously we had Ben Affleck's second time out as Batman. He's
technically
great.
It's his third.
Well, yeah, I mean, if you're counting Suicide Squad.
Well, they had asked him, and he said this is his third time. So it's like, dang it! Like, to me, I don't count Suicide Squad, but whatever.
Right, but I mean, but he definitely had a lot of screen time here, where it's like, you know, you know, obviously getting top billing here, but yeah, no, Ben was, I mean, he's fantastic as Bruce Wayne, and as Batman. Like you know. I mean, let's be honest. He practically is Bruce Wayne in real life.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah, he just has that right amount of just dark and brooding, and you know, and he's a big Batman fan. So look, I don't know what the future holds for him playing Batman. I don't know how much longer he's going to stick around.
Yeah.
I mean, if this is all we get out of him, then that's all we get, and I'm grateful for what we have. I hope he sticks around for some future movies because he's great in the role. And
me too, man.
So I would like to see more of that. Obviously, and Henry back as Clark Superman. I feel like he's had more to do in this movie, or at least personality-wise, than he has in the other two.
They finally take advantage that like Henry is a good actor.
Yeah, and he's a charming, like, you know, kind of happy guy.
Yeah,
and he can be that now.
Yeah,
I feel like now he's like, at least Superman in this point has reached a point where he's finally comfortable with himself and he knows who he is and he can be Superman.
Yeah, it was great.
And finally kind of reach his potential in that. So I feel like, you know, it's really starting to go into a good direction for him. And now that he's back, Amy Adams back as Lois. I mean, she's great. She's fantastic.
I have to say, I feel bad for Amy just because she kind of had some of the worst scenes as far as like dialogue is concerned. You know, I mean, like, you know, her talking about like, oh, I wasn't you would have been disappointed I wasn't the Pulitzer Award winning reporter, and it's like, I don't know, I felt bad. I mean, I love Amy Adams. Okay,
no, she's a great actress.
So it's not. This isn't on Amy. It's mainly, to me, it's on the writers because like she kind of was given the short end of the stick.
Yeah, I mean, she didn't have a a ton to do in this movie. There's so much going on with it being a Justice League movie. I feel like if it was a Superman solo flick, then she would obviously have a lot more to do.
Right.
But, I mean, I thought she was fine. The dialogue, I think, in this movie is noticeably better than in Batman vs. Superman.
I agree. I
don't know if dialogue maybe isn't Chris Terrio's strong suit, but I'm sure having Joss Whedon in to kind of fix up the script helped.
Yes, definitely.
So, look, Chris Terrio is an award-winning, writer, because he did Argo and all this stuff, and I'm sure he's a smart writer, but, I don't know, maybe having Whedon in there kind of helped out, at least in terms of the dialogue.
Yeah, I think in terms of dialogue,
some of the dialogue in Batman vs. Superman was rough.
Yeah, it was. Yeah. I agree with that. 100% for sure.
So, but yeah, and Gal Gadot back as Wonder Woman, she's great. She's adorable.
Yeah.
And
I love that initial scene of her standing on that was that Lady Justice.
Yeah,
I think it's what it's called, or whatever,
or wherever that was in London.
Yeah. And I think it's cool. You get, again, that's just a little fan service where you get these iconic shots.
Yeah. Yeah. No,
I love that. I appreciate that.
It was great. I mean, what more can you say about her? She's great. And even though we didn't do like a review of her movie, I mean, maybe that's something we can do down the line. But she is Wonder Woman.
Yeah. She just kills it now.
Yeah.
I feel like. She's just getting better and better.
Yeah. Ezra Miller as the Flash, we touched on that earlier. He was, I was pleasantly surprised with him.
Loved it.
I remember when he was first cast, I was like, really? You're going to get this kid in as the Flash? Isn't he a little young? And, he doesn't really look the part, but he did a great job.
Yeah. I think he did an awesome job, yeah.
He was charming. He was funny. He was definitely, like you said, he was our way in.
Yeah, he was relatable,
Yeah, and he really, he really made an entertaining Barry Allen. He's not copying what Grant Gustin is doing, but you have these two different Flashes, and it works.
And I just love all the special effects on Flash. Like when he taps into the Speed Force, I love all the way it looks.
Yeah.
Like how he's just entering the Speed Force, and there's like all this like,
a lot of blue lightning.
Yeah, a lot of blue byproduct lightning.
Mm-hmm.
That's cool.
Yeah. Jason Momoa as Aquaman. Again, he really had his own unique spin on it, and it worked.
I love Jason Momoa. I really do. I love like what he does, and I think he's just gotten better as he's gotten older.
For sure.
As an actor, and he killed it as Aquaman. Let's face it. Aquaman was the butt of all jokes. Like,
I mean, how many people were like, "Oh, the dude who can talk to fishes"? Like, come on.
Yeah. And I love that they addressed that. They put that in there like twice. About
it's one of those. It's such low hanging fruit. Like, how could you not? How could you not do it?
I love that because in the beginning you got Bruce like he talked to fish in the town, and then he's like gets mad at him, and then even towards the end when he's like looking at like can you really talk to fish? It's just he's like, are you sure you can actually talk? And he's like, no, he's basically saying, no, I can't talk to fish, but I can tell when things are wrong with the ocean.
Right, like, and it's funny, his reaction was perfect. He was just like rolling his eyes. He's like, oh, again with the fish thing.
Yeah, that was awesome. And he was badass, like
he was great. I'm looking forward to seeing like his movie when like he becomes king and sort of evolves into that more serious character.
Yeah, sure.
At least how Aquaman's depicted in the comics as being very serious and stately and very regal, and so he's going to be cool as the king, I think.
Yeah, I would like. I watched it with my best friend Nick, and like when Momoa first shows up in his first scene, he's in that town, and then like he goes off into the water, and I was like, oh yeah, Nick, this is the part that I remember filming. Like for me, that's me up in there, take my shirt off, going in that icy water.
Sure. You're like, yeah, no, I look exactly like that with my shirt off.
Yeah, right. That was me. Body double.
Yeah, there you go. But yeah, no, he was great. Ray Fisher as Cyborg, Victor Stone.
That was my pleasant surprise. There
Yeah,
it
I mean
is.
Ray Fisher, like I didn't really know anything he did. I know he's been on Broadway as
Yeah,
Muhammad Ali, but I don't know how much film work he had done
me
before
too.
this. But I mean, yeah, the dude's a great actor, and he was good. He really made us care about Cyborg, which
Yeah, man.
I was on the fence with. But it's like now I want to see a Cyborg solo movie.
Yeah, yeah, for sure. And he looked good. Like, see, they did a great job with the CGI on him.
Oh
But
yeah,
I
he
mean,
looked like
with
he was
him,
right out of the comics.
with him, you did have mocap with him, so that's understandable. It was better. So, I'm glad. I'm glad they did that.
Yeah, yeah, you had to.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, I think the only other live action cyborg we saw was in the show Smallville, actually.
Okay. I mean, I only saw the first season of that one.
Right. Yeah, no, he definitely showed up on that show. Victor Stone did a little bit.
Yeah.
So, Jeremy Irons back as Alfred. I mean, he's
Just
great. I love
killed it.
his take on Alfred. How he's like basically Batman's eyes and ears,
Right.
from the cave.
Right.
Which
I love
is,
that.
he has even a more hands-on role than even like Michael Caine's Alfred did.
Right. Right. He's not just a butler that's concerned about what Bruce is doing.
Yeah,
He's involved. He's involved in the process.
for sure, for sure. He's very hands-on, much more than Alfred's have been in other incarnations. So I like it. Diane Lane was back as Martha. It was
Yeah.
interesting. I mean, there was definitely the subplot of her losing the house and losing the
Right.
farm, and then Bruce, buying the bank to get it
I
back
love
for her.
that.
That
I
was
love
great.
that. That was so funny.
Yeah,
How'd you get the house back from the
yeah.
bank? I bought
hmm
the bank.
It's like really the whole
Uh,
bank.
that
That's perfect.
was awesome.
That's great. Yeah, so I mean, again, not a lot for her to do in there, but she was there to provide emotional support and all that stuff. So,
Yeah.
I mean, the scene of her, seeing Clark back from the dead was pretty cool.
Yeah, yeah, definitely.
So, and then, speaking of mothers, you had Connie Nielsen as Hippolyta back again with that.
Yep. Loved it.
We didn't quite see like a reunion between Diana and the rest of Themyscira. We might see that in the future.
Yep.
So it's like we're to understand that she probably hasn't been home in a while.
Yeah.
So I'm sure there'll be some kind of like reunion down the road, maybe.
Right.
J.K. Simmons as Jim Gordon, perfect, like he's
Yep.
great. And the guy who played Steppenwolf, Kieran Hines. Again, I mean, I know you had issues with the CGI, and
Yeah.
there was motion capture being used for him.
Well, I don't think his face. I can almost guarantee it his face.
Right.
I'm gonna have to look that up. So
Yeah.
because it just looks so bad. Now as far as Kieran Hines voicing, perfect. That was perfect. I thought he did well, but Steppenwolf is just. I mean, it's fine. It's fine. It's about the heroes in this movie.
Yeah, yeah. No, and of course they had Joe Morton back as Dr. Stone, Victor's father.
Yep.
He's great. He's been in a million things.
Yeah, for sure.
I think they did have little cameos by like Robin Wright and David Thewlis as Antiope and Ares in like the flashback scene at the beginning.
Oh, did they? Ares it was in that?
I guess. And again, it must have been like a blink and you missed it, but I guess he was there.
Well, there was so much going on in that scene. I definitely had to kind of like watch it on Blu-ray and just like kind of go for shot type of thing.
No,
Like,
absolutely. A lot to dissect there.
Yeah.
Amber Heard was there as Mira.
Hell yeah!
Yes. Yeah, I mean, she is gorgeous.
Oh my gosh. You know what? Like you could almost rival like who's the better looking woman, her or Gal Gadot?
It's hard to tell, but I mean, we all win in that scenario.
Yes, yes. The answer is yes.
Yes, it's all good.
Yes.
Yeah, Mira, I know Aquaman's future wife. No doubt she's going to have a much bigger role in the Aquaman movie.
Yeah.
So they're just introducing her.
God, I just want to watch this movie again and see all those shots, see all
Yeah,
those scenes.
Billy Crudup, who played, he was Dr.
The
Manhattan
father.
in,
Oh,
in,
yeah,
in
yep.
Watchmen. So he's got that connection with Zack Snyder. So they brought him in to play Henry Allen,
Yeah.
Barry's father, which I almost thought he was a little bit young to play Ezra Miller's father. Like, he's like only in his
Yeah.
40s, I think, but they kind of aged him up a little
They
bit.
aged him up. He looked like a dad to me.
Yeah, so that's fine. And
Yeah.
Barry was supposed to be a little bit younger anyway. They did have Willem Dafoe cast as Volko, who's Aquaman's right-hand man in Atlantis and sort of his mentor.
Was that? Did we
Um,
actually see him?
no, he was cast to play Volko, and an actress named Kiersey Clemens was supposed to be Iris West.
Okay.
Both of them were cut from the movie.
Oh, okay. Okay.
The thing about this movie is, like, originally they were going to have a two-parter, so I don't know how much they shot versus how
I
much
guarantee
got
you,
in.
there's probably like another whole hour of that movie just like cut out.
And again, you had a lot of people leaving, like Junkie XL left the music. Danny
Right.
Elfman came on
Oh,
board.
we didn't even address that.
No, we didn't, and which was cool because he had little callbacks to his classic Batman theme.
Yes. Yeah, definitely.
And I think there was even a little hint of like the John Williams
There was.
Superman thing in there. Although
There
he
was.
still used some of the Hans Zimmer stuff too.
Yes.
Which was
I
good.
did.
I'm glad he didn't throw that out too, because that's
Yeah.
great music too.
To me, it was a little. I would say it was 70% great, and then another 30% where I was like, I feel like there could be better, like score, better music during some of these fight scenes. But most of all, like I really like his mix up of like new and kind of a little nod towards the classics. It's like it was cool.
Yeah, I mean, it wasn't a very distinctive. It didn't seem like an overly distinctive score as it did when Hans Zimmer
Right.
was
Right.
there. And I think Junkie XL did the theme for Wonder Woman, so they threw that in there as well.
That was his best contribution, was Wonder Woman's theme, and it sounds awesome.
Like
I think I told you with Batman v Superman, I did not like Batman's like score.
I don't
did
even remember what Batman's like
Well,
theme was.
Yeah, I know, and it's hard to remember, but I would watch those scenes specifically just to know what his theme was, and I would listen to the theme itself, and it's like it's not good.
Yeah.
So
I mean, at that point,
it
it's a
sounded
shame
great.
that Hans Zimmer didn't just use I mean, if we're using past incarnations, why not just use the Batman theme from
I
the Dark
agree.
Knight,
I
Dark
agree.
Knight movies?
I love those. Yes.
Sure.
Yes.
I mean, why not go for broke if we got it?
Yeah, man.
If we're throwing in the John Williams theme, then I would assume that should be on the table too.
I agree. For sure.
But yeah, apparently Mark McClure had a cameo in the movie.
I don't know who that is.
Mark McClure played Jimmy Olsen in the Richard Donner Superman films.
Oh. Did I hear right? Was there a Jimmy Olsen in this, like the character Jimmy Olsen in this movie?
I don't think so.
I thought I heard somebody say something about that, but I'll have to go back.
I don't think so. I mean that
No.
was a whole thing from Batman versus Superman, and I don't even want to get into that. But Mark McClure was, he played Jimmy in the Christopher
Original.
Reeve movies.
Yeah.
He also played Marty McFly's brother in the Back to the Future movies as well.
That's cool.
But yeah, and of course they finally brought in Joe Manganiello as Deathstroke and Jesse Eisenberg as Lex for those cameos. So yeah, I mean the casting was solid all around. I didn't feel like there was really a bad casting in the bunch.
Yeah, there was really no one out of place.
No, I mean, considering all the baggage that this movie had with Zack Snyder having to leave because of a terrible circumstance, obviously his daughter committed suicide. That's, I mean, just terrible. And
Yeah.
I know Joss Whedon essentially took over a lot of the stuff from Zack. I think most of the movie was shot by the time that happened. So I think maybe Whedon had more to do with like the editing and reshoots and stuff like that.
Yeah.
So, but I mean, they still credited Zack Snyder as the director for the movie.
Yeah. And it was definitely a Snyder movie. Like it wasn't like, oh, this looks like Avengers. You know, it made maybe some of the dialogues with some jokes and levity and stuff like that. Maybe that was more on Whedon, but as far as like the look and the feel and the shots, slow mo and all that stuff, it was like a Snyder movie, which was I'm glad they kept it that way.
And I mean the fact that they have Joss Whedon now for the DC films is huge.
That is cool.
That is a huge steal for them, basically.
Yeah. Yeah, man.
Like he kind of jumped ship on that. It's kind of like getting a number 1 draft pick.
Yeah.
You know, where it's like they managed to get him for Marvel. I don't know who we gave away to Marvel for that, but it's regardless.
Lawrence Fishburne was the.
I guess so, because he's going to be in
Ant-Man.
Yeah, he's going to be in Ant-Man.
Yeah.
I don't know who he's going to play in Ant-Man, but I mean,
me too.
I don't know if he's going to come back as Perry White in future movies. I don't know.
Well, he still has his contract with WB, so if they want to bring him in, he can't. He's going to have to.
I mean, why not? I mean, it's not really going to affect anything, you know. It's
I mean, honestly, it's just more money for him, anyways.
Right. It's just another role for him. It's
Yeah.
So, yeah, I don't see why not. He walks between both worlds. So that, I mean, considering the bumpy start and the way they introduced all the characters, I mean, it's pretty amazing that they managed to pull this movie off as well as they did.
Yeah, I agree.
I think they definitely left us wanting more, and I think that was and that was cool. You know, that's not always a bad thing.
Yeah. It's by no means it's not a perfect movie. Like, as we mentioned, it has a few flaws to it and stuff like that. But like, this was a really great movie, and like, it's unfortunate that it's suffering from, other factors than just the movie itself. It's just unfortunate that way. But hopefully, people will still go watch it and be like, this was better than what I pictured it to be, or what I heard it would be, or what it was painted to be, or anything like that.
Right.
And hopefully we get more.
I think what the DC movies suffer from, I mean, there's a lot of things. For example, Marvel had the advantage of it being its own studio. Like, essentially, Iron Man was like the most expensive indie film of all time.
Yeah.
Because they had everything in-house, and this is before Disney bought them, or Disney acquired them. So even after the purchase, they were like, well, you guys clearly know what you're doing. We're going to let you guys do your thing.
Yeah.
The DC movies don't quite have that level of freedom from Warner Brothers. Look,
well, the biggest thing they have that Marvel has is Feige.
Yes, I was going to get that.
That was the biggest thing.
Marvel has Kevin Feige, who's overseeing it all. They have everyone knows who the boss is.
Yes.
So, and again, I don't know how, I don't think he has a lot of say in like all the TV shows and everything. That might be a separate department, but
that is a separate department. He said I don't deal with that department.
Right. So
yeah.
So I don't know, but I mean all that's connected. But that's a whole different thing. But at least in the case of the Marvel movies, like everyone knows who the boss is. He's the one providing the vision. He's the one saying, it's like, okay, here's what we're doing. Here's the plan. Go do it. I don't think. I mean, I had heard that like Jeff Johns is kind of taking like a higher role in the DC movies. Now Jeff Johns comes from the world of comics. He's like the head guy from like the comics branch. He's not necessarily a filmmaker or so there is something to be said for that. But I mean.
Well, there's a lot to be said about that, because that makes the biggest difference. You see, Feige didn't come from the comic book world, so he came from filmmaking world, and he was just involved with the with the Sony Spider-Man and the X-Men. So like he was involved with filmmaking that happened to be with comic stuff.
Yeah, that
So
was
it's like,
that was back when like Avi Arad was like the main producer
yeah.
of
So
all that
like,
stuff.
but like he knows film, and since he's got experience with comic stuff, he had a plan. I was like, okay, now I know how to make this thing right. And
Right.
Marvel was very blessed to get him.
For sure.
You know.
And now, I mean, because I don't know if Jeff Johns has that kind of level of oversight on the DC movies.
Oh
I
yeah,
think
I don't know.
he definitely has a high position in the company when it
Mhm.
comes to that.
Yep.
And he's definitely
Yep.
getting involved with the TV. I mean, I think he was involved with the early seasons of Arrow and stuff like that. So I think he does have some oversight into like the TV projects as well. But for the movies, for the movies, he definitely is having more involvement as a producer, and so I don't
Right.
know if he's like the guy. But I
Right.
mean, the problem with Warner Brothers is that they do. It's sort of a case of like there being a little too many cooks in the kitchen,
Yep.
and
I
so
think,
that makes it
and I,
difficult because there's so many different agendas that are trying to be met.
and I also don't want them. I don't want them to be so reactionary. I just want
Mhm.
them to make a plan and try to follow through with it.
Yeah,
You
and try
know.
and stick to it.
Yeah.
So looking ahead for the DC movies, see, Aquaman is already in post production.
Right. Right.
So that's exciting, and they're looking at a release date for December of next year.
Yeah.
So they're
Yeah. And
already
they've already shown a trailer for it for people of Comic Con.
okay. Yeah, so they're off and running right now.
Yeah. Yep.
Um, Shazam, it looks like that's. And by the way, there was a quick turnaround between Dawn of Justice and Suicide Squad and this movie. Um, Justice League. So I mean, you had that, and so they're definitely trying to crank them out as much as possible.
Yeah. Yeah.
And obviously Wonder Woman was this year too. So
Yeah.
um,
Yeah.
a lot of stuff going on. But
Which is
yes,
good for us as the consumers,
absolutely,
as the fans.
yeah. Keep them coming.
Yeah.
So and it looks like Shazam is in pre-production already. Like they're moving forward with that. They have the director, they have the script in place. Like that's happening.
Well, I mean, Flashpoint, I think it's gonna happen. I mean, they greenlit it. They called it Flashpoint, right? I think they already titled it Flashpoint.
I mean, I'm checking out the Wikipedia page. I don't see like a definite ruling on
Okay.
Flashpoint just yet. I know that.
I think they're still deciding on the director.
Yeah, there haven't been. Yeah, there are a few things. I'm looking at what they do have dates for at this point.
Okay. Okay.
So Shazam, they're looking for April of 2019. Yeah, that has a director, David F. Sandberg. I don't know much about him, but they have a cast in place already. They've announced that Zachary Levi,
Yeah, that's it. Zachary Levi. Yeah.
who is Fandral in the Marvel movies, Thor's buddy.
Yeah, he was fine in that role.
Yeah,
You know?
no, he took over that role from Josh Dallas, who
Right.
played Fandral in the first Thor movie, but he was in The Dark World and was in Ragnarok. Apparently, he's going to play Shazam, and a lot of people know him from Tangled, and I think there's a TV show Chuck he was on.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
and they announced a young actor to play Billy Batson, his alter ego.
Right.
Dwayne Johnson is for years they've announced that he's been cast as Black Adam. I'm sure he's going
Right.
to be involved in this one. So that's
Yeah. I can't imagine I feel like you just can't have an introduction of Shazam without Black Adam. I feel like it.
So he's going to be involved in there somehow. So
Yeah.
that is set for April. Like that, I was like, okay, that's happening.
Right.
We had heard rumors, so that they're moving forward with that. Wonder Woman 2, they're looking at November of 2019. Patty Jenkins is back for that, which is smart.
Yes.
She crushed it on the first Wonder Woman. So
Yep.
what they end up doing with that is anyone's guess. I hear that Chris Pine is supposedly going to be back in that one.
Well, even with that, it's like you can sign him and still have flashbacks. I mean, it's kind of like the whole Peggy Carter situation, right?
I guess so. I mean, we'll see what the deal is with that. They still have Cyborg as his movie being in 2020 in April.
I feel like that was scrapped, but maybe
It's still like, again, it's still like it's listed in development. Everything is like to be announced at this time. So
yeah.
I think like even like Ray Fisher is like, hey, I'm just waiting to get the call. So
Yeah.
he's like, I'm ready to do it. I
Yeah.
heard him in interviews. He's always just like,
Man,
I'm just waiting.
2020. That's like with considering how many movies will be out. Like I'm talking about DC comic book movies. I feel like that's a long ways away. You know,
Yeah.
we'll be well removed from this movie by the time that comes out.
Yeah, I mean, it seems like it's a long way away, but that's like 3 years from now. So
Well, I guess what I'm saying is like how many movies we will have seen in this world by the time we get back to Cyborg. It'd be like, man, forgot about this guy.
yeah, no,
You know?
I don't know, but I guess they're also looking at a July of 2020 release date for the Green Lantern Corps movie.
I wish it was earlier.
Yeah,
I want more Green Lantern. Now
Right.
that we've gotten to see it.
there's no director attached to that, but I guess David Goyer is one of the writers on that, so he's been in Man of Steel and The Dark Knight
Right.
movies, so
Right.
there's a pedigree there.
Yep.
So that's what we've got as far as like the other, like there's all kinds of rumors about what movies that are in development. Apparently Matt Reeves is attached to direct the Batman solo movie,
Yep. And that's gonna be awesome.
and I mean, but again, there's originally they thought Ben Affleck was going to direct, but I guess maybe he's still like as part of the story, and I guess is a producer on it. Again, we don't know. Like it's so early on. Like all of this is like rumored right now. So
Well, we can only take what is true right now, and the fact is that Matt Reeves is directing the Batman solo movie, and that's a cool thing.
yeah,
That's a good thing.
so I'm on board with that. I guess supposedly Black Adam is going to have his own movie. I don't know. Flashpoint. I guess maybe they're just interesting. One of the producers attached to Flashpoint is Greg Berlanti, who handles all the TV stuff. So,
Oh yeah.
So that's interesting. Gotham City Sirens has been announced with like David Ayer possibly directing that. So I don't know what that's going to be all about. I mean, they've been talking about Justice League Dark for years now
Yeah.
with Guillermo del Toro.
I don't think that's gonna be in the same world as this one.
I mean, it might. I mean, they have John Constantine and Zatanna and Swamp Thing.
Yeah.
So I mean, why not? They have Enchantress and stuff like that. Like,
Right.
I don't see why they couldn't do that. The Nightwing movie, which I personally really hope happens, because I love Nightwing, and I would really love to see that.
Yeah.
They're talking about a Suicide Squad 2, possibly Deadshot having his own movie,
No.
Deathstroke having his own movie, or
Okay.
I've seen
Deathstroke,
something
but-
for like a Harley Quinn and Joker movie, which God only knows what that would be. I mean, good lord. I mean, I know people love those characters, but it's like, do we need them to have their own movie? Like, what would that even be?
I hate the.
That'd be like a German snuff film. That'd be terrible.
Yeah, I know. I hate the little memes or posts that like girls or guys like post of like, oh, I just want a relationship like the way Joker and Harley love each other. And all
No,
that.
you don't.
You don't want that. Man.
Super abusive to each other.
Yes, super abusive. That's not what you want at all.
No, not at all.
It's just, I understand they're beloved, but let's put it all in perspective.
And I mean, there's even been talk of like having Lobo having his own film. So I don't know.
I would be on board for that. And you know who I want as Lobo, which it's not gonna happen because they already casted.
Well, yeah, you want Dwayne Johnson to play Lobo, but
that's just the natural fit, man. I mean, come on. I mean, I don't know how you can not say Dwayne Johnson is not the Lobo. Like, he's sarcastic, he's big and strong and goofy.
Yes. I mean, I don't know. I don't know if I see it, but I don't know. That'd be a strange one, yeah. I mean, maybe, but I mean.
Yeah. Well, no, he's gonna be Black Adam.
Well, yeah. So that's not gonna happen.
Yeah.
Still no word on when the Justice League sequel is going to be, or when the Man of Steel sequel is going to be. They've been talking about Batgirl having her own movie, which would be pretty cool. With Joss Whedon on board.
From what I heard, I think Whedon is not gonna do that. But I'll have to follow that up. But I think now that he's got more access, I think he's looking at something else. But don't take my word on it.
Apparently, he's writing a script for it. So, So who knows?
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, they definitely have an idea of what they want to do, but nothing's set in stone right now. They haven't. Yeah. So yeah. We'll see what this means for future DC movies. I know they're so I know they're probably waiting to see how this one does, and then just probably making decisions from there.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, anyways, that's it for now. I think we've talked this movie to death right now.
Yeah. I think overall, we both really enjoyed this movie. It's a very enjoyable movie. They did a great job with, the things they wanted to focus in on. I think they did a great job with. Mm-hmm. And it's to me, it's another movie. It's a rewatchable movie in my opinion.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
So that's it for now. I know we've been talking about this for a while. What did you guys think? Leave a comment. Subscribe. Go back and listen to the other episodes. Follow me on Twitter at jackconnor. That's about it for this Justice League review. I think we've talked about it. Go see it if you haven't already, and sorry for spoiling it for you if you haven't. So, anyways, John, do you have anything else that you want to promote before we get out of here?
No, man. Just God bless and enjoy some comic book movies, man.
All right, we'll see you later.